There are those who believe that life is ruled by destiny and that all living things must surrender to the whims of fate. When fate is cruel and destiny comes too soon, the thread of life can be tragically short. August 4th, 1978. In the village of Asbestos, Québec, east of Montreal, bus company owner Gilles repairs the brakes on one of his tour buses. As he packs his tools, he remembers that the handbrake for the 22-year-old bus is still in the trunk of his car. The brake has been jamming and parts have been hard to find. Tonight's charter will have to do without. The bus has been hired by La Fraternité des Malades et Handicapés, a local association that organizes activities and workshops for the town's mentally and physically challenged. The group has chartered vehicles from Gilles before.
La compagnie d'autobus, c'était toujours cette compagnie-là qu'on a.
It was always the same company, and we never had any problem before. We had a very good service.
On avait un bon service.
Gilles Bolduc is scheduled to drive, but because his wife is in hospital, he trades shifts with his brother-in-law, Denis Martel. Martel has made dozens of trips with the association over the past 2 years. Tonight, he will take 35 workshop members and 11 volunteers to a musical play being performed in the town of Eastman, 100 kilometers away.
On avait des personnes de tous les genres.
We had people from a wide range of ages. We had people with a physical or an intellectual handicap, and some with the Down syndrome. There are people who really like to work as a volunteer at the fraternité. All they needed was the desire to help others and to be comfortable enough with those people.
One of the most active volunteers is 36-year-old Monique Gregoire. On this particular Friday, Monique has barely had time to prepare dinner for her family before catching the bus.
Ma mère, c'était une femme qui avait tempérament, qui aimait.
My mother was a person who loved to help others. She was a woman often away from the family home because she was so involved with the organization.
Parce qu'elle était prise avec son organisation.
One of the organizers of the trip is 24-year-old volunteer Alain Pouliot. He and his wife Lucy have been married less than a year.
On était dans toutes sortes d'activités. Comme on avait
We were
pas
very
d'enfants,
involved in many kinds of activities
on faisait
because we didn't
beaucoup
have any kids.
d'activités de bénévolat.
32-year-old Gerard Duford is a city maintenance worker whose handicap hasn't kept him and wife Viviane from volunteering to help out.
Faisait d'épilepsie, mais il se débrouillait là.
He was epileptic, but he knew how to manage his life. He knew Viviane for about 2 years, and they had a nice relationship, and they were married for a year.
Ça faisait 1 an qu'ils étaient mariés.
Several parents have joined their children for the trip. Maurice and Geraldine Paquette are with their son, Pierre.
Our son Pierre was 18 years of age. He had finished his school education a few years before, but he didn't learn how to read and to write. But he was educated as a normal boy. There was a lot of singing on the bus, and we were going out to have fun.
On the way to Eastman, the bus stops twice while driver Denis Martel deals with a sticky accelerator pedal.
There
was a really strange feeling on the bus. That makes me think that some of the people knew that something was going to happen.
The passengers are singing as the bus arrives at Eastman on the shores of Lac d'Argent, also known as Silver Lake. It climbs the winding hill to the theater overlooking the village. The group's spiritual advisor, Father Gaston Saint Jean, helps passengers off the bus. He is assisted by student curate Raymond Cloutier, who has been at the Asbestos parish for less than a year. For group members and volunteers alike, it is a delightful evening of music and comedy. No one in the audience suspects that for some, it will be their last. When the play ends just after 11 p.m., driver Denis Martel leaves the theater ahead of the group. He starts the bus and brings up the air pressure for the vehicle's brake system.
Everyone
took a place in the bus. There were 6 or 7 people who didn't have seats, and we were standing in the aisle. My son Pierre said to me, "Dad, take my seat." And he stood up, and I took his seat. Those were the last words he ever spoke to me.
Passengers are singing happily as the bus starts down the steep hill road. As the bus reaches the steepest part of the hill, 45 meters from the bottom, Denis Martel suddenly realizes that something is wrong.
Everyone was singing on the bus, and he said, "Alain, yell to everyone that I do not have any brakes. Everyone must hold on. I will try to turn once I am at the bottom of the hill." And I did yell. The first row may have heard me, but all the other people, they didn't hear anything.
Friday, August 4th, 1978. Just before midnight, a busload of handicapped children and adults races down a steep hill overlooking the village of Eastman, Quebec. The brakes have failed, and driver Denis Martel has only seconds to decide what to do. The highway intersection is just ahead. Beyond that is the beach leading to Silver Lake. With the bus picking up speed, Denis sees that he won't be able to make the 90-degree turn at the bottom without flipping over. He decides to drive into the lake, figuring that the water will bring them to a stop.
Il y avait pas beaucoup de décisions à prendre. Il y avait un érable sur le bord de...
There was not much choice. There was a maple tree close to the shore in the lake. Maybe, he said to himself, if I stopped by hitting the maple tree, there would be a lot of injured people, and he took a chance in the water.
J'ai pris une chance dans l'eau, mais...
The bus crosses the beach at 64 kilometers per hour and hits the water. However, the 21-ton vehicle leaves the beach at an angle, skimming across the water like a giant rowboat. In seconds, it is 80 meters from shore, sinking in 15 meters of water. As water gushes into the bus, passengers begin to panic.
La chienne m'a pogné. Moi, j'ai dit, la première affaire que je fais, je me plante dans le devant.
I got scared. The first thing that came to my mind was to open the front door, and it took me 3 times before I got it open using a 1-foot metal rod. I went down the 3 steps, and there was somebody dead on the steps.
The body is 72-year-old Bernadette Plunged, the victim of a heart attack when the bus hits the water.
I pushed the body into the water. I could see that the bus was still floating on the surface and that we were far from the shore. It was dark, but with the lights on the shore, we could see different objects floating in the distance.
Alain Pouliot is the first passenger off the bus. He hears the cries for help from inside as he swims for shore.
I was telling myself, I cannot save all the people by myself, but what I can do is look for a boat and get help. That way we will save a lot of them. I saw a sailboat that was on the water. I had in my mind to take the sailboat and go back to the bus. The sailboat was 50 feet from the shore, and it was locked with a chain and lock. I saw Denis Martel coming, and he said, "Alain, save me! I'm going to drown!" I put him on the sailboard and told him, "Don't move. Somebody will come to help you," and I continued to swim to shore.
Inside the bus, many of the passengers are unable to move, hampered by physical disability. Others are simply paralyzed with fear. As Father Gaston Saint-Jean jumps into the water, he sees Gerard and Viviane Duford still in their seat, holding each other as if waiting for the inevitable. Alain Pouliot's wife, Lucy, sees that her only avenue of escape is about to close. The front door of the bus is being jammed shut by the inrushing water. Desperate to survive, she manages to force herself through. Unable to swim, Lucy dog paddles for shore until someone grabs her arm. It is student priest Raymond Cloutier, who pleads with her to help him. Barely able to keep herself afloat, she has no choice but to leave him behind. Still struggling, the young priest finds Father Gaston Saint-Jean, also trying to get to shore.
And Father Gaston St. John tried to take his trainee with him by the arm, but after a little while he had to let him go, and that moment left him with a deep memory.
Father St. Jean continues towards the shoreline, floating on his back, calling for help. Two teenagers out on the lake that night hear his cries and push a sailboat to him so he can climb inside. On the bus, Maurice Paquette searches in the darkness for his wife and son as water pours in. When he cannot find them, he has no choice but to save himself.
On criait pour avoir des chaloupes, pour aller, mais
we were yelling to get some boats for help, but nobody came. And after 15 to 20 minutes, the bus sank completely.
Cries from inside the bus are suddenly silent. On shore, Alain Pouliot frantically scans the water for his wife Lucy.
I knew that she didn't know how to swim, and I yelled, "Lucy!" Then I heard, "Alain!" and I saw 2 or 3 heads coming out of the water. It was hard to see, but finally I recognized my wife.
Maurice Paquette is also headed for the beach.
I swam until I reached the side of the lake, but when I reached the side, I wanted to go back.
He thought he could save his wife and he wanted to go back in the water, but we didn't want him to.
His fellow passengers prevent Maurice from returning to the water. Of the 47 on the bus, only 7 have survived. It will be another 29 hours before those left behind are brought to shore. Saturday, August 5th, 1978. Just minutes after midnight, Eric Whitehead receives a telephone call. Whitehead is a policeman who belongs to a diving club, and they are needed in Eastman immediately.
I have a team of 6 people, and I would say about 20 minutes later, we were already down at Silver Lake and suited up, getting ready to go in the water.
Their job is to locate the tour bus at the bottom of Silver Lake. But silt stirred up by the accident makes seeing anything underwater almost impossible.
You can't see nothing. It was completely black, so we had to go by touch.
The search intensifies an hour later when police divers join in. Shortly after 2 in the morning, divers discover a body floating in the lake. The rest of the victims won't be found for another 12 hours.
A policeman came to ask Lucy to identify the body that they had found. Lucy looked at me and I said, "No, I will go. She can't." I went to identify the body and saw that it was Mrs. Pouliot.
In asbestos, Germain Gregoire has had a fitful night. He has wakened several times to discover that his wife Monique has not yet returned from the trip to Eastman.
Mais à 4 heures du matin, tant qu'il s'est réveillé, il a allongé son bras.
At 4 a.m., he woke up again and put his arm on the side of the bed, and my mother still wasn't there. He got up and made himself some coffee and toast and turned on the radio, and that's when he heard the news.
As residents of Asbestos begin their day, news of the accident spreads quickly through town.
Le samedi matin, j'ai reçu un téléphone de la mère de Viviane.
I received a phone call from Viviane's mother on Saturday morning. She was telling me that Gerard was in the bus. I didn't believe her right away and hung up on her. I thought it was a joke. Then I went to see Father Saint-Jean at the church, and he said they were in the seat in front of me. When the accident happened, they were holding each other.
Saturday, August 5th, 1978. Just after 2 p.m., a diver swimming 75 meters offshore bumps into the bus in murky water 20 meters deep.
He says, "Suit up, I want to show you what it's all about." Went out to the way, went down the rope, and you would look in close with your light into the window of the bus. There'd be another face and looking out at you. And that's one part of it that I'll always remember.
All day Saturday, relatives, friends, journalists, and the morbidly curious come to Eastman to watch the recovery process. It takes 4 hours for the huge tow truck to pull the bus to shore. 37 bodies are recovered from the bus, including that of Monique Gregoire, Maurice Paquette's wife Geraldine and son Pierre, and Gerard and Viviane Duford. Not one handicapped passenger has survived. Sunday, August 6th, 1978. The bodies of the Eastman tragedy lie together in a local arena. Grieving relatives file through to view and identify the dead.
J'ai réalisé, surtout tant qu'on est arrivé
I realized at that moment that my mother was really dead and that we wouldn't see her anymore.
Vraiment, on est tombé vraiment dedans, là, tu sais.
I was scared that people would look at me and say, "You did nothing for my mom. What did you try to do?" That was my fear.
The tragedy puts in question the whole issue of bus safety in Quebec. On August 17, 1978, the provincial government announces regulations that require all buses to undergo a mechanical safety check every 3 months. Of the 143 buses tested that September, only 37 pass inspection. At a provincial inquest into the cause of the Eastman disaster, experts testify that only the left rear brake was operational at the time of the accident, and the emergency handbrake had been removed.
C'est beaucoup de responsabilité, hein? Placer un véhicule sur le chemin.
It's a lot of responsibility to put a vehicle on the road without any brakes that carries 30 to 50 passengers. It doesn't make any sense. It's irresponsible.
C'est responsable.
At the same time, the inquest relieves driver Denis Martel of responsibility for the deaths of his passengers. For almost 20 years, the Eastman disaster is the worst bus accident in the province's history.
Les accidents de la route. Il y en aura toujours, je crois.
There will always be road accidents, but this one could have been avoided. It was the innocent ones who were with us that passed away, people without protection who needed our help. That is not so easy to accept.
Ça, c'est pas facile à gérer.
Ça nous a privés beaucoup.
It deprived my family of so much. A husband was deprived of his spouse, children were deprived of their mother, and future grandchildren deprived of their grandmother.
Une grand-mère pour des petits-enfants.
It's very sad that she couldn't meet her grandchildren because she would have been a very good grandmother.
Moi, j'essaye de me servir de cette épreuve.
I try to use this event in my day-to-day life. Listen, stop complaining. You're not supposed to be here. If you have bad luck, it's nothing. At least, you're alive.
Si t'es à mort, là, au moins t'es vivant. Apprécie-la, la vie.
C'est un événement que...
It is an event that really affected my life and that will affect me for the rest of my life. You learn to live with it, but you never forget.
T'apprends à vivre avec,